Most of us suspect that many of our devices are spying on us. We're talking about things like computers and phones. But did you know your car actually is tracking you?
Is your car spying on you? You've probably heard about the automotive industry, the birthplace of those sleek, fast-wheeling cars zooming around the globe. But have you ever heard the dark side of it? All of these automakers have a really bad habit of collecting detailed information of the drivers, which often ends up in invading their privacy really badly. In fact, privacy advocates and politicians are raising alarms, saying that automakers aren't doing enough to safeguard our personal data. Your car knows more about you than you'd think, who's behind the wheel, where you're going, and a ton of other info. And with all the ways a connected car can be accessed, hackers see them as prime targets. The Mozilla Foundation, the brains behind Firefox, is calling cars a privacy nightmare. According to them, cars are the least secure devices you can buy today, which is a pretty bold claim given the tech industry's track record. As car data collection keeps expanding, it's been a bit of a free-for-all for car companies.
The data collection potential is only growing, and car companies have gotten away with this for so long.
So, are we stuck in this data-hungry reality, or can we reel some of it back in? Are our cars no longer the symbols of independence and privacy, but rather rolling surveillance machines? Mozilla reviewed 25 car brands, and guess what? Every single one got a privacy not included rating. Yep, cars as a whole were the worst category they've ever looked at. Nissan's privacy policy stood out for all the wrong reasons. It was described as mind-boggling, creepy, scary, sad, and messed up. And if you thought that was bad, Tesla's privacy practices are even worse. The idea of making money off your data, known as data monetization, has been a big deal lately, but with mixed results. While companies are on a mission to gather and cash in on more data, consumers just want their privacy back.
Companies are focused on collecting more and more data, trying to monetize it, they're failing at it. And what consumers want is exactly the opposite.
In late April, 2 senators urged the Federal Trade Commission to look into whether automakers are misleading customers about how they handle data. Other state and federal agencies are also jumping into the fray. Imagine your car as a super sleek, data-hungry tech whiz. It's not just purring down the road, but also scooping up loads of data about itself and you. On the technical side, it's like your car's health tracker, keeping tabs on the battery, engine, brakes, and all those crucial bits. But that's just the beginning. Your car is practically a data detective, capturing everything from your fingerprints to snapshots of your face. It knows your medical info for emergencies, tracks your financial transactions, stores your passwords, and even remembers your home address and garage door code. It's like your car is an extension of your brain, remembering all the little details. Your car can record your driving habits in minute detail. Where you go, when you go, how you drive, and even where you park. Insurance companies are drooling over this info, seeing dollar signs and all that juicy data. And if you thought that was invasive, buckle up. Some car privacy policies allow the collection of seriously personal stuff. We're talking biometric data, genetic info, and even details about your sex life, union status, and immigration status. Yep, your car could potentially know more about you than your best friend.
Sent to them collecting information about my sex life, get me from point A to point B safely.
All this data doesn't just sit in your car, though. It's beamed up to the cloud via 4G or 5G, turning your car into a rolling internet hub. It broadcasts Wi-Fi and even its serial number. And those cameras? They're not just for keeping you in your lane or helping you back up safely. Some cars have inward-facing cameras too, keeping a watchful eye on the driver. Tesla's Sentry mode, for example, uses cameras positioned around the car to record suspicious activity. Connecting a smartphone to the car provides an even greater source of data, and the infotainment system may not have the same data management policies as the smartphone maker. Different parties, such as companies, law enforcement, and criminals, are interested in this data for various reasons. Initially, car companies started adding sensors to vehicles for all the right reasons, like improving safety features. But then they realized they were sitting on a goldmine of data. Instead of just focusing on safety and maintenance, they began gathering more and more information to cash in on it. Back in 2016, McKinsey predicted that by 2030, the vehicle data monetization market would be worth a whopping $750 billion. Some of this data helps automakers and their financing divisions or assist dealerships. However, a lot of it ends up with advertising firms, research companies, and social media platforms. Mozilla found that in 2023, 84% of the 25 car brands they studied were sharing their data with outside companies, and 76% were straight up selling it. These data brokers aren't just collecting basic info. They have super detailed data on drivers, like heart rates and signs of fatigue. Even insurance companies and law enforcement can get their hands on this data pretty easily, sometimes just by asking. The lack of strict regulations around this data collection and sharing is raising all sorts of privacy and security concerns. The data your car holds can be more valuable than the car itself. Over the last decade, privacy breaches have been the biggest cybersecurity threat to automotive companies. For example, criminals can steal a car by setting up a connected account during a test drive, which they can later use as a spare key. Privacy for Cars, a consumer protection company, warns that data breaches are a serious threat. There are also worries about domestic abuse.
Domestic abuse laws apply to car makers to try to get ahead of some of the concerns,
as connected cars could enable stalking through remote tracking and control features. Selling your car without deleting personal data is risky too, with 4 out of 5 cars being sold with the previous owner's data still on them. Companies often sneak data collection consent into other services, so consumers might not even realize what they're agreeing to. For instance, a button that calls emergency services after an accident might also require you to share way more data than necessary. Despite automakers' claims about taking customer privacy seriously, Mozilla's report highlights widespread issues. Brands like GM, Nissan, Toyota, Stellantis, and BMW have responded by saying they're committed to privacy and following the law. But Mozilla notes that none of these companies have pointed out any specific errors in the report. Regulatory pressure is heating up, with agencies rolling out inquiries and new rules to keep our personal info safe. The California Privacy Protection Agency kicked things off by zooming in on connected cars for its first big review. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is diving into the connected car supply chain, flagging some national security red lights. For guys who want to keep their data on lockdown, car shopping can be a bit tricky. Right now, if you're all about privacy, your best bet might be cruising around in an older model. It's not just a nod to vintage-style older cars tend to have fewer data-gathering gadgets. If you're selling or returning your ride, don't forget to scrub your personal info from the system. Think of it like clearing your browser history, but for your car. And hey, it wouldn't hurt to shout out for stronger federal privacy laws, so everyone gets a fair shot at keeping their data safe. So, stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to hit the subscription button, and let us know about your opinions in the comment section below.